All right, and we're back. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Kicking It with Kicks. And today we're joined by our amazing mentor and friend, Rob King. How are you, Robert?
Great to be on, brother.
Great,
Always
great
a
to have you,
pleasure.
man. Always. I always have time for you, man. No matter what, I'll carve out time in my diary just so I can speak to the one and only Rob King.
I appreciate that, brother. Likewise, and I'll jump on any time you want me to on these calls because I love what you're doing. I love the content you're putting out there, and a lot of people say they're going to do something, but man, you've really followed through. Like you were saying, this is your 18th podcast now, so man, congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Still a long way of where I planned and envisioned this whole thing, but one step at a time. So, and we're here to give the people some values, something that they can take home with them, something that they can ponder on, or maybe if they learn something new from our discussion today. That's what it's all about. We want to grow together, hive mind, so we can make the world a better place. Because it's not quite the place that we want it to be just now.
Hundy. Couldn't agree more with that. JRE, you put on notice.
That's it. I'm coming for you, Joe.
Coming for you.
Far out, man. How about the UFC today, man?
Oh, dude, it was epic.
Wow.
Kat and I just watched it here at home. Even paid for the pay-per-view because I was like, I want to support what's going on because there's a lot of crack streams.
Yeah.
But like my internet here is just like so bad that when I do get like a stream, it's just
Horrible.
unwatchable, and like it'll just like lag at the worst time and then like speed up and you miss the knockout.
Like mid punch and then just stops. It's annoying.
Yeah. And I'm glad I didn't because the fights today were just amazing, man. It was crazy.
What was the most surprising victory today?
Okay, the surprising decision. I actually, even though obviously I'm happy that Alex won, I thought that Max had won the first three rounds.
Yeah.
So I thought because I definitely thought Alex won the last two rounds, but I thought Matt, like leading into the fifth, I was like, oh crap, he's got to finish him here. Like I was pretty worried for him, and then when they read it out. And they had like the split decision. I was like, oh, they're going to give it to Max. And then they were like, still. And I was like, oh, yes.
I was so happy.
And
it was so good.
I was going to say my multi was still in peak position performance at that time. But Jorge.
Oh, no, you put on Masvidal, didn't you?
Of course I did.
Wow, yeah, dude, Usman's just a beast. He's got so much power in his hands. He's kind of like a smaller version of what's the big black guy? What's the guy?
John Jones?
No, not John Jones. The other one, the one that's coming up now, the one that had a podcast. Ngannou. He's like a smaller version of Ngannou. He's got
a wrestling version of him.
Yeah. He's so powerful, man. And yeah, look.
Or like a bigger version of Khabib.
Yeah, going back to the Alex fight, I mean, Max had the first two for sure. All right, the third one very close. That could have gone either way.
That could have gone either way.
A lot of people said Max, and some people said Alex. The last two, we can definitely both agree that Alex got those. He got a few takedowns as well, which really helped him. And I think it came down to champion's advantage.
I think so, yeah. I think if you're going to go either way on that third round, and you are going to lean towards the champion, because they say, you've got to beat the champ, even though that's not really in the rules, but it's kind of like just a thing, isn't it, out there?
Yeah, I thought Alex was a little bit too hesitant in the first two rounds. He didn't want to get any unnecessary damage, and he was kind of playing it safe, which it kind of went against him. So that's why he had to turn it up in those last few rounds. And yeah, man, congratulations, Alex, still champion. I got the opportunity to train with the guy when he came over to UFC gym in Bankstown. I got a photo with him. The guy comes up to here, but his legs are tree trunks. They are massive, huge legs.
Rugby legs.
Yeah, that's from playing league the whole time. And I think when he was playing league, he was like 120 kilos. The dude was competing in 145, which is like 60 kilos, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane. He's so athletic and so just built for sport, for athleticism.
That's where he has that power, isn't it? Like, and he got Holloway down a couple of times, and no one takes Holloway down.
Exactly. He's such good takedown defense, and even when Alex did get him down, he had a really tough time keeping him down. So, yeah, all the power to Alex, man. He came out, pretty much with the same strategy as last time. He was very focused on the leg kicks, but I never realized how quick he is. I mean, he can kick you twice. It's like a double jab, but he kicks you twice.
Yeah. Yeah, he was getting him on the inside leg kicks, like doubling up on them. I was like, whoa, that's quick speed. Yeah. Yeah.
So
I guess that's what happens when you train with Adesanya as well, isn't it?
Yeah, there you go. Adesanya is just a beast as well. I know those two train together. And there you go. Who would have thought? We got a champion from New South Wales and we got a champion from New Zealand.
Yeah, epic.
Oceania representing.
And I think UFC should do a fight island over here in Australia. Why not? Like,
definitely
get to bring it to Queensland.
Did you see Jose Aldo as well? The way he got finished.
Oh yeah, man, that was an awesome fight because Jose looked good in the first round. He looked really good, and then he slowed down big time in the fourth round. Like big time, and like we always know, like that he sort of fades, but usually he's good enough that he can like still cruise through the fourth and fifth, even lose those two, and then win a decision. But man, Peter Yan did not relent. That dude is a beast.
Savage.
That ground and pound was vicious. It should have. I in my opinion, it should have been called off. Like,
what the fuck was the ref doing? Why did he let that barrage go on for so long? Like, the dude was getting the fuck beat out of him. The canvas was all bloodied, all red, and the ref was like, Jose, defend yourself, defend yourself. And the guy's just holding his head like this. He's not even trying to fight back. And that happened for a good 30 seconds. It's like, dude, come on, man. He's getting pulverized. Just stop the fucking fight already. I was getting anxiety just watching that.
100%. And don't make the fighter quit, because there is no quit in fighters. Like, don't put it on him to like tap out like from strikes.
You won't do that.
Like, that's where the ref's job is to step in for the safety of the fighters.
Yeah.
You know, it's not Aldo's responsibility to tap out. Like, it's the ref's responsibility to go, hey, he's not intelligently defending himself, but he's not going to quit. So I have to come in and do this for the fighter's safety. Otherwise, you're potentially taking years off their career and years off their life.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking like, oh, here we go again. This is George Floyd II. This guy's gonna get killed on camera, and fucking, it was ridiculous, man. And he just got the fuck beat out of him, dude. It was fucking savage, and Jan didn't stop. He was just like, he saw blood, he wanted more blood. He was just bang, bang, bang.
True that. Side note though, Aldo never held a gun to a pregnant lady.
Fun fact.
Fun fact. Just a nice little segue there. But yeah, but back to the fights. Yeah.
Rob. Oh goodness gracious. But yeah, man, that was a really good card, and I think they got Stipe in DC, the third fight coming up in the next one, I believe.
Oh yeah, man. I'm rooting for DC. I love DC, man. He's awesome. I love him as a commentator. I love him as like a fighter. Like, he's just he's an epic personality.
Yeah.
Really good dude. Like, you can just tell, everyone who has interactions with him, and like, I love when he interviews people. I love seeing the excitement on his face when when someone wins. Like when Rose won the title off Joanna, and you see DC's reaction. It's just
genuine.
So genuine. And speaking of, it was great to see Rose get a hard-fought victory, because it was a much closer fight this time. She could have been in trouble if that thing was a 5-rounder.
She had the massive black eye, didn't she?
Yeah.
Fucking hell, UFC.
She won the first 2 rounds, but she lost the third round pretty bad. But obviously, yeah, she got the decision, which is good. and I don't know, maybe she might fight for the title next
When you get injured
Wei Li Zhang.
yeah, when you get injured in MMA, you get fucking injured.
Ooh, yeah. And the girls lately, like they've been getting some like Joanna's last fight against Wei Li Jing, like her whole forehead, like she looked like the Elephant Man. Like,
Oh, it was horrible. She looked like the aliens that just come to visit us. Project Bluebeam, baby.
they're communicating to us through her.
Fucking crazy.
But shout out to Dana White for not letting like this whole pandemic get in the way of putting on some sports. Like he's just gone, full steam ahead. He's not really bought into the narrative. He's just upped like everything. Like he's up testing. He's upped all the conditions. Like they've pulled fighters out that have tested positive. And yeah, it's props to him for just making it happen, man. Like that's really kind of like you see Trump's attitude as well of like, hey, yep, like yep. Health and safety is important, and saving lives is important, but livelihoods are also important, and you can't just stay hiding under the blankets from a virus forever.
Exactly. Eventually, you got to get out of those blankets and face it head on. It's no use in shutting down the whole fucking world to just in the eyes to save people. And yeah, good on Dana White, man. He's a pure-blooded entrepreneur. He's a businessman. He knows how to put a show on, and he's got the whole Fight Island thing. And can you imagine being in there, being like one of the fighters or one of the commentators, and you got these two barbarians in a cage. There's no one around, and it's just you can hear the smacks of every single punch and kick. And looking at Aldo, where he almost got killed, you almost witnessed a murder right there in that cage as well, just with no people. It's just this guy just hailing down. It was ridiculous.
I actually thought they were going to end the fight in the first round because it looked like he took like a shot to the ribs, and he sort of like he winced really bad, and then he wasn't really defending himself, but he just like the clock ran out of time, and then he came back really strong in the second round, but then he got destroyed.
Crazy, man. So I guess moving on, the last time when we met, when we had the podcast, we were talking about Trump coming up against the World Health Organization and against the globalists, and the globalists trying to take over. And by that point, I don't think the George Floyd thing happened either. And then that was the spark that kind of just blew everything out, and it's never been the same since then. That massive. It happened in Minneapolis first, where the people literally took over the city and ran the cops out of the city. I've never seen or heard of anything like that before, ever.
Absolutely insane. And just seeing the division between like Democratic governors and their like stances against the president, it's almost like they're making it personal. They're sacrificing their own cities as they make their stance. And it's supporting defunding the police. It's like, you serious? Who are you going to call when someone breaks into your home? The celebrities are disgusting that are supporting this, because these celebrities, they live in Hollywood in their $1 million mansions. They have their own private security. They've got surveillance everywhere. They've got panic rooms. It'd be impossible to break into their places. It's impossible to storm their gates and loot their mansions. So them going on social media and saying, yeah, defund the police, it affects the lowest socioeconomic cities the worst, because they're the ones who don't have the security. They're the ones that have the highest population of single mums who are at the highest risk of then, being robbed and having their, their house robbed, or even worse, murdered. It's disgusting, man. The people who need the police the most are these lower socioeconomic, cities and towns and stuff. And it's sad to see the manipulation that's going on.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know whoever thought defunding the police was a really good idea. It's definitely not a good idea. We need the police. As much as people hate them and as much as there is a problem and it needs to be sorted, it's not by defunding the police or getting rid of the police, that's for sure. We need the cops to maintain, as Trump says, law and order. That's what we want. You know, we don't want Mad Max. It's not a good ending to that film. And you know, they were talking about it on the Rogan podcast the other day, and it's like he was talking with Hannibal Buress, one of the comedians, and Hannibal's like mandatory meditation for the cops, and then Rogan with a serious face said, "No, mandatory mushrooms for the cops and the politicians. 5 grams, heroic dose. Let's see if you're gonna turn out the same on the other side."
Yeah, you know what? And there would be a lot more people not thinking so inwardly and thinking about how they can line their own pockets. There'd be a lot less cops who are just completely power hungry, and they've got trauma that they haven't dealt with in the past, and then they're taking out on other people. So yeah, if anything, you don't want to necessarily. I'm not saying to throw more money at the police, but you want to be able to be more selective. Australia has one of the greatest militaries because they're one of the highest paid militaries. So therefore, it attracts a higher level of people into the military, and they can spend more money per soldier. They can spend more money, doing psychometric testing and things like this. And that's what needs to go on, especially with these cops in America, because you get these guys who slip through the cracks who should never have access to a weapon. Some of them should probably not even be, in society, but they've been given these positions of power. And maybe they were bullied in school and they've suffered a lot of trauma, or at home life, and now they've found themselves in a position of power, they can abuse it. And so if we have reform, that's one of the things that needs to happen, is better selection, better management of psychology, and ongoing as well, because things can happen that changes someone. So when they join the force, they might be a great cop. 10 years later, they've gone through a lot of stuff, and they haven't had time to deconstruct things and go through, break things down and understand why they're thinking the way they are. And that needs to go on. That needs to be taken very seriously. We need to push funds away from revenue raising. Like, it's almost like police are on quotas, sales quotas.
KPIs.
Yeah, KPIs, like real estate agents, needing to sell a certain amount of houses, and car salesmen needing to sell enough cars. It's like cops have KPIs on how many speeding tickets they can give people.
How can you predict how many crimes there will be in a certain period of time? It doesn't make sense. You can't predict crime. Crime it's everywhere and it happens very randomly, very sporadically. It's not like something that you can, have an equation for.
100%. And if more police are working to stop child sex trafficking and things like this, these are real, like, true crimes. Like, one child is one child too many. If we're talking about, like, they're talking about one death from COVID is too many. But if we're talking about, like, what's really going on in the world with pedophilia, this is what needs to be targeted. This is what action needs to be taken swiftly and fiercely, and without any relenting, because it's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, and touching on Ghislaine Maxwell as well. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Yeah. Well, apparently, yeah. Even if they do suicide her, apparently they have all the information ready to go. So
nice.
She ends up, suicided.
Or dying of the Rona. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, of course. And she and they've got the Wiener laptop as well, so they've got that information. All it looks like they've been working at this for the last couple of years, and the House of Cards is about to come down.
This is a very pivotal moment. If it comes out and she testifies and she gives names, and even like you said, even if she does end up dying or getting suicided, they still have those videos or whatever evidence that they have. That's going to be a big game changer, and that's going to be a pivotal moment in the US election as well. That's going to be greatly affected.
Oh, big time. Like, there's the video with Clinton. like Hillary. I haven't seen it, but I've heard that it's incredibly graphic, and it's made some people in the military and FBI like throw up of how disgusting it is.
What's in that video?
Apparently, her and I forget it's like one of the ladies that's always with her, like basically torturing a girl and then like cutting off her face, and Hillary's wearing the face. Yeah. So like if that stuff comes out, like it all has to come in stages because people can't accept stuff if it all comes at once.
Cognitive dissonance.
Big time, big time. And especially because there's so much hate for Trump that if he was to release it and it would just like be like, oh, it's all fake, it's all doctored, it's all this because he just wants to get reelected. But the opposite is true. Like the Democrats and the deep state are throwing everything at the kitchen sink to try and, you know, sink this ship so that he can't get elected. I have no idea why they chose Joe Biden to come up against him. Like that's literally the only thing that makes me question whether or not like they're two sides of the same coin. That's the only thing I could think of. I'm like, how could you be that dumb to put someone like him, like
Sleepy Joe?
Yeah, Sleepy Joe. Like, I enjoy watching compilations of Joe Biden failures, and like you can watch 30 minutes. And
Trump ripping into Joe as well. That's my favorite.
Oh my god, what a crazy year we live in. Like we're about to win this, you know, the presidential debates with Sleepy Joe and Trump. Kanye's running for president. It's like, what is going on?
Could you imagine KIWK as the first lady?
Oh my god.
It's like, yeah, the first lady just did a porno.
Oh my god, yeah.
What has America turned into, man?
It's crazy. It really is.
The land of the free. Well, fucking, I don't know if it's going to be the land of the free in the future because communism is making a big comeback.
Yeah, yeah, and disguised as socialism.
Communism from the back door, huh?
The back door, yeah, man.
I remember when you sent me that series.
Yeah.
You sent it to me last year as well, and I only got through like the first 2-3 episodes because I was just so mind blown. And it's fucking happening, man. The radical left is pretty much the communist wing trying to take control, and like you said, doing anything possible to stop Trump from getting reelected. It's scary.
Oh man, I was speaking to an Uber driver yesterday named Lex, and he's from Poland. And in a 10-minute drive, we already started talking about Karl Marx.
Oh shit!
He was like, "How do you know about this?" And I was like, "Oh, Lex, we need to have a sit down, buddy." He was a cool dude. Yeah, but yeah, Corn Pop, he was a bad dude.
Dude, communism, man, like it's never worked. It's never worked. And you know, we had the whole 20th century to see if it worked, and it resulted in tens of millions of people dying.
Yeah, it never can and never will work. It's absolute destruction, and it's done on purpose. Like, yeah, everyone needs to watch that documentary. As graphic, as confronting, as it will challenge more beliefs than I think any other documentary I've ever seen. So should I drop the name here? Like,
yeah, I'll search it up now. So it was Communism from the Back Door, right?
I thought you were talking about Europa: The Last Battle.
Europa, right? That's the one with Hitler, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that the one where they say Hitler's the good guy?
Man, what are you doing? You're trying to get us into some serious trouble here.
Oh, no, it's just a bunch of conspiracy theories. Don't worry about it.
Let's say, let's let everyone make up their mind with the information at hand, fact check it.
Yep.
We're not going to try and overlay any opinions on that ourselves. Just, look at the facts.
it's a very touchy subject. It's
Oh, and it's made to be a touchy subject on purpose.
yeah, exactly.
There's, you can't. There's a few questions and things you can't ask. Otherwise, you're immediately labelled. And we're in, 2020 is the year of labelling. No matter if you speak out against, the mainstream narrative, you're immediately labelled. Like if you speak out against, if you question for a second, if you just want to see some conclusive science, about say climate change or CO2 emissions, instantly, oh, you're a climate change denier. If you want to, question the validity of COVID and the testing, oh, you're a coronavirus denier, or you're an anti-vaxxer, or whatever. And there's a label for everything because they want the mob to eat you. That's how you win. Is you get the mob on your side, and then the mob defeats you. You don't even need to win the battle yourself. And that they've known that since days of the Roman days. Caesar used the mob to gain favor. When he was killed, Mark Antony used the mob to turn on his side, so he created power. There's power in the mob, and today the mainstream media creates the mob mentality, and it's all represented on social media. And so as soon as you speak out against a certain thing, you're instantly attacked by the mob. And the truth is, the silent majority aren't even speaking about it. They're not even saying, they're just, looking, but usually not liking, usually not commenting. But they know something's up.
Definitely. And the whole conspiracy thing, like you said, this year has been the year of labeling, and if you say something that doesn't fit the narrative, the mainstream narrative, then you are conveniently labeled as a conspiracy theorist. And whatever argument you have is now redundant because it doesn't hold any value because you're labeled as a conspiracy theorist. So it's a war on information, it's a war on consciousness. It's fucked up, because you can't even have a proper discussion with some people just because there's no point. They're just so far off the radar that it's not even. There's no point in having a critical, thinking session with someone, brainstorming ideas, coming to different conclusions, speaking your truth, and it's gonna come down where the silent majority are gonna be forced to step up and choose sides, and I think that'll be the ultimate decision as to where our society goes collectively.
You're right. And it's about people. People are going to have to make a choice between fear and freedom. Because the more you live in fear, the more freedoms you're willing to give up. And the more you step out of your fear, the more you actually value your freedom. And, this has been the greatest example of people being afraid and that fear driving their ability, or driving their want from freedom away. And they're willing to give up all their freedoms, and they're willing to put on a mask and, say, I can't breathe. And they're willing to, call up on their neighbours for having more than 5 people at home. I mean, let's take a look at Draconian Dan over the Premier in Melbourne. And, a few weeks back, he let 30,000 people march shoulder to shoulder, protesting something that they just hijacked from the US. And, do we need to look at, some areas of people being mistreated that are incarcerated? For sure. But that's not only for black people, that's for all people.
Yeah.
So that march though happened shoulder to shoulder, people yelling, spitting, getting really excited. No news of any new cases. And 2 weeks later, there's a case spike. And then he blames a couple of security guards for sleeping with some people in a hotel.
Yeah, I heard that.
And blames family to family transmission. And you go, why would you blame family to family transmission? And to me, this agenda is all about breaking down that family bond. It's about breaking down cultural bonds. It's about breaking down trust in humanity, so people will turn on each other. Because united, we stand together and we can't be beaten. Like, you know, but if we're divided and we will turn on each other on a moment's notice, then we're easily manipulated, easily controlled.
Yeah, look, it's like, what's the whole deal with Victoria? Because obviously they've had that spike in cases for corona, and they've gone full like CCP, locked everything down, like how we were the first time when corona came. Um, Honestly, man, the way it's going, especially like, I don't know how it is in Queensland, but in New South Wales, we've been getting these hotspots starting to pick up. I give it 2 weeks max until we're under lockdown again. I'm calling it right now. Like, I don't. The way it's going, it's this whole psychological game where, you know, they're preparing us. The little warning signals are popping up here and there. And just the other day, I can see on the news that, you know, the toilet paper's gone missing again. I'm like, oh, fucking, here we go. That's the first sign. It's the first sign that you see that shit's, you know, going downhill again, because the toilet paper's not on the fucking shelf.
Dude, I'm installing a bidet.
It's fucking toilet paper, man. You can wipe your ass with a towel. Like, it's not that fucking necessary.
My emergency dive bag has no toilet paper in it. But yeah, it seems like Victoria is the testing ground, and their premier is the perfect person, perfect puppet to orchestrate that the testing ground for that, to see how far you can push it. Because the thing is, you take everything away and then you give people a little taste of what they used to have. And then they're so grateful for it. Oh, I can go back to the gym. Oh, I can go out for the club. And then you take it away again and you go, no, you guys weren't good enough last time. You guys weren't strict enough. Now we've got to go to these higher levels. And it's like, okay, but yeah, the cases are increasing, but is that just because you're increasing your testing?
There's a lot of fishy business going on, especially with that testing, and you know how that papaya and the goat came up positive. It's just like, and a lot of these tests made in China as well. It's just like, fuck, how can we really trust them after everything that's happened?
We 100% can't. I'm just looking at the video that I watched the other day. So it was by the guy who actually created the test that they're using currently, like the nasal test.
Yep.
Where is it? And he conveniently died in August 2019.
Conveniently.
And he basically called out a lot of the fake information and you know, the funding that goes into the universities to come up with a certain conclusion. If the conclusion doesn't fit the narrative of the people who are funding it, then your funding gets cut. And he was also basically said he created this test, and he said this test should not be used to test for infectious diseases, but this is the test we're using. So how do we even know it can tell the difference between a regular flu or a cold and COVID-19?
Yeah, there's a lot of fishy business, especially with the tests, and you know, it might be one of the ways that they can manipulate the data to then suit their agenda and do what they need to do.
Well, I saw someone post today that they got sent a message from someone who I think their grandfather had passed away, and this is in Melbourne, and the hospital offered them $9,000 to allow COVID to be on the death certificate as the cause of death, even though he died of a heart attack.
Fuck. They're incentivized to put COVID.
Yeah. And apparently they walked away, didn't take the money, and they walked away. And like that's like third-hand information, so it's hearsay. I can't like 100% confirm that, but that's what I've seen. And then when that person posted that, a lot of comments in the thread said that they had heard similar things from different sources. So if there's a financial incentive, it makes you question it even more. It's like, if a virus is that bad, you shouldn't be needing to encourage people to put it down as the cause of death. Like, you shouldn't need to sensationalize it. Like, if something's really bad, you should almost be trying to calm people down and make it not look as bad as it is.
It's quite the opposite.
Quite the opposite. And the death numbers aren't really going up. The just case numbers are going up because they're just testing more people, getting more nasal swabs. We're in winter, in flu season. Everyone's deficient in vitamin D because they've been locked indoors and haven't been going out in the sun. That's another thing. The Philippines did a study and found that 96% of people who tested and were symptomatic of COVID-19 were deficient in vitamin D. 96%.
That's the problem. We need vitamin D. It's very important.
Have you ever heard any single news media outlet in Australia or globally mention vitamin D and the importance?
World Health Organization, not one mention of vitamin D.
No. And now the World Health Organization have even come back now from their original statement where they said asymptomatic people could pass on COVID just as easily as people who had really harsh symptoms. Now they're saying that asymptomatic people can hardly pass it on at all. So it's so contradictory. So now if that's the case and that's given from the World Health Organization, why are we still isolating the healthy? That's communism. Why don't we just quarantine the people who already have it and are having very bad symptoms, and the extremely elderly and the very immune compromised, vulnerable people? And let the economy run?
Yeah,
because lives are being lost. My partner's in medical science, and she deals with doctors all the time. And she visited a doctor the other day in Queensland. I won't say where, but one of the surgeons, his practice is closed down because surgeries, his type of surgeries were taken down during this whole COVID thing. He took his life.
Oh,
And then his assistant took his life as well. So it's like we're losing people's lives because of this lockdown. And you've got to ask yourself, the lives that we are losing directed to COVID on the death certificate, first of all, how many of them was COVID just a part of it? Because this guy who they wanted to put down as COVID had a heart attack. So was he going to have a heart attack anyway? Like, a lot of these people, would they have passed away regardless of COVID anyway? Would they have just passed away with the regular seasonal flu, which we know kills a lot of elderly people every year anyway? But we never bat an eyelid. We never do a lockdown. We've never done anything like that before because the media has never sensationalized it.
The media is controlling a lot of the narrative right now. It's almost as if you got this guy in a dark room with a little knob, and then he's kind of like got this evil look on his face, and he's kind of turning the knob, and then all the case numbers go up. It almost seems like that.
It really does, man. It's like,
It's fucking creepy.
When I hear people and they're like, "Oh, did you hear there was this many extra cases?" I'm like, it's meaningless to me. I mean, the amount of cases, like, you could say 10,000 extra cases tomorrow, but if there's like 2 deaths, what are we talking about here?
Rogan was talking today on the podcast. He did the live fight companion, and his friend Brian Callen actually got corona.
Him and Brendan Schwab, yeah?
Yeah, and he goes, he's okay, but it's kind of like on and off, where he feels like shit 1 hour, and then the next hour he's fine, and then it's a very weird thing. Like,
sounds like the flu.
It does. He says it affects, like, some cases have been known to affect a person's neurology, like their brain chemistry. So there's a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of just there's no clarity. You can't pinpoint exactly what, who, when, and how. But it's just all over the place right now. And I think it's like that on purpose.
Oh, big time. And if you've got the flu, but you're being told by the media that you might have something else that is far worse, that can play tricks with your mind as
Oh
well.
yeah, placebo.
Placebo effect massive.
It's fucking huge. That's why they do
And
double-blind placebo studies.
yeah, 100%. And I don't remember last time I had the flu, maybe like 7, 8 years ago. And you have like that flu brain fog where you feel like you can't think and you don't want to do anything and but you just you take a bunch of vitamin C, you drink some good water, you get extra sleep, and you recover because that's what your immune system's designed to do. We all of us have multiple viruses in us as we speak right now, but our immune system holds them at bay. And so people need to realize that forget the fear, forget the mask, forget restricting your oxygen, focus on your immune system, your own personal health.
Oh yeah.
And that is freedom in itself because you now have control. People are only scared of things that they don't have control of. And the media makes them feel like they have no control of whether they get this virus, only if they're just away from everyone.
Yeah.
But that's not how we develop strong immune systems. We develop strong immune systems from being around different people, from touching things, from being. Some of the people with the best immune systems work in the health industry and they're exposed to all kinds of different people and different illnesses all the time, and people sneezing on them and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And this whole year, I haven't been sick this whole year, and it's mainly because I've been focusing on the immune system hardcore, taking, supplementation, eating well, getting rest, vitamin D, sun exposure, watching positive, funny stuff, always keeping in a positive mindset because it's so easy to just slip back into that negativity and that victimhood mentality. And with the government giving out handouts now, people are just, gladly accepting it and staying home and playing video games, kind of like burying their head in the sand, not worrying about anything that's going on. It's quite
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah, they don't want to contribute to society and go back to their job because now they're getting paid more to do nothing.
That's one
That's
of
the
the
government's fault for creating that kind of incentive and system.
yeah. It's kind of like prepping for communism, right? Universal basic income.
Big time, yeah, 100%. Actually, definitely since last time, I think I was talking about like buying a house last time we were on.
Yeah, and
Like Pat and I can say that we just bought a house now.
hey boy.
We haven't made it public or anything because we only just got approved like 2 days ago. But
Nice.
yeah, we got a place out of the Gap, huge property overlooking the mountains, and it's away from the city, away from 5G, just beautiful, man.
I feel like that's going to be a very common trend coming up now. A lot of people getting out of the big cities, out of the crowded neighborhoods, into, nature, into the mountains, wherever, just to get out of these condensed cities and just enjoy life for what it is out there. It's so beautiful. I've organized a trip with me and a few friends to go to the Blue Mountains at the end of the month, just because. Usually we'd go to raves, but obviously there's no more raves, not in Australia, not for a long while, maybe not even ever, who knows? So
Go to Katoomba, you can create your own rave cave.
exactly right, and it's so much better being out over there in the mountains in the wilderness, rather than going to a rave. I love the music, but I mean, there's something about the fresh air up there and going for a hike in the Blue Mountains and just being there with your close friends and trying to stay warm, drinking tea, looking up at the stars at night. I mean, you don't need any drugs to enjoy that. That's a psychedelic experience in its own. When you look up to the stars and you see the Milky Way, it just reminds you that this is it. This is life.
It's true, man. Yeah, and you can create a psychedelic state just through breathing. Like that's how cool the human body, mind, and spirit is. It's insane.
So much mystery. So many things we don't know yet. So many things that is within our potential, but we haven't yet got the tools to access it.
Mm.
But
And it's a journey, and I think we are at that cool point in history where there's just the forces are just like this, and we could go either way right now. And if we can be a part of sort of, I don't want to use the term like awakening, but
It
making
is.
people just more aware of themselves, their
Rob,
surroundings,
it
their
is.
environment, their
It's
mind.
it's an awakening. It's people need to stop listening to the bullshit. They need to find their own truths. They need to take the red pill and open their mind. More people need to do psychedelics. It's just it's a tool, and especially like Rogan said, the politicians need to do these psychedelics as well. If they're a tool and they can be used for good, they can also be used for evil. The Vikings used to take mushrooms and go and rape and pillage people. It's a tool, but I think we've exhausted all answers right now. We have no answers for these problems, these underlying problems of society. So
Not the level of consciousness to solve.
yeah, and Graham Hancock always mentions it, the war on consciousness, the war to enslave our minds, to dictate what you are allowed and not allowed to think. That's insane.
Big time, man. People need to go through some adversity, and psychedelics offer that as well, especially if you take a heroic dose. They offer you that adversity because when you're going through that kind of level of self introspection and you go, oh shit, like I've been treating that person like shit, or I've been thinking this way, or I've been being selfish in this aspect of my life, and you're going through that journey and the inner struggles with the disassociation of time and your grip on reality, and but you come out of that, and it's like you feel like you're falling in pieces in different parts of that, but then you come out of it, and there's a sense of strength in knowing that you went through that, and it's almost like you went through a lifetime in that experience. And I think, when you talk about people being an old soul, I think that's a big part of it is, going through those psychedelic journeys. And it doesn't have to be through like mushrooms or LSD or DMT. You can do it yourself. You can do it with breath work. That is just one of the extra tools. And I think it is a great tool because obviously doing the breath work requires a lot of experience, skill, the right environment, the
Discipline.
right teachers, everything. And I'm wouldn't say that I'm at that level, but so therefore psychedelics do offer that great gateway, and they have to be respected. That's I think that's a thing that
You can't be popping these at festivals.
no, I mean we have, but you shouldn't.
Oh, you naughty boy.
not here in Australia, not where it's illegal, of course.
Obviously. We
Obviously.
would never do anything like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
but it's funny you actually mentioned a couple of times. You think it's a great idea for politicians to do psychedelics?
Of course, man. If once you go through a heroic dose of a psychedelic, you gotta come out there with a fresh perspective. You have to. There's no way. You just met the god and devil in one, who just judged you on your life and put you in your place. How can you not come out of that experience a new, fresh person with a different perspective and more love in your life?
100%, man. Yeah, and yeah, you really do feel more connected. Whereas I feel like alcohol disconnects people, and in a lot of ways it brings out the worst in them. Like I like a glass of red with a meal, but when you see someone and they drink so much and their inhibitions are all released, and they're not thinking about the world, they're thinking about their world, and and often not in a selfless way either. So I think it's just interesting that the two things that are sold really highly during this pandemic is alcohol and cigarettes. Two of the worst things for your health and two of the worst things for your consciousness.
I think if Trump is ever in a bad position where he doesn't think he's going to win, I think the moment that he decriminalizes all drugs, number one, and number two, um, releases everyone who's in jail for a stupid, drug crime. Those are two things that I reckon would seal the victory for him if he ever was in a bad position. At the moment, I think he's the front runner. I think he's got the advantage because obviously Sleepy Joe is nowhere. He's nowhere.
He's asleep.
He's asleep. And it's so crazy because even if he does win, he's going to step down. He's going to say, all right, guys, I'm too old for this. I'm going to step down. Probably Hillary will come up and then kiss the world goodbye after that. If that does happen.
Oh, yeah. If she got elected, we probably already would have kissed the world goodbye.
Could you imagine if Hillary won back in 16?
Oh.
It'd probably be at war. The whole world would be at war right now.
Yeah. Oh, my God. So interesting thing is I'm actually getting into politics.
Yes, I wanted to ask you about that. Yeah, your the start of your political career. I knew this was coming. It was only a matter of time. So please, yeah, give us the spiel.
Yeah, well, I've aligned myself with a party called the Liberal Democratic Party, LDP.
Yep.
Funny because I think I like I would like to call it the Freedom Party because that's really what it's about. You know, they're about decriminalizing all drugs. They're about legalizing cannabis. They're about freedom of choice, freedom of the individual. If you wanted to, look at what they stand for, it's essentially a classic libertarian stance. And what a classic libertarian is, it's just about freedom. It's just about weighing the individual over the collective. It's about looking at if I should be able to do whatever I wish to do as long as I'm not causing harm on someone else. Minimize government interference and get their nose out of our lives, lowering tax, putting more freedom and more money in people's pockets so that they can choose how it's spent. And I'm going to be running for the Senate in 2022.
Fuck yeah.
And I'm actually going to be doing a dry run campaign here in Queensland for this Queensland election. And yeah, I guess this is me making this public statement. So first time
on the podcast.
Kick it with kicks.
My man.
Public announcement.
Remember me when you get to the top.
Oh, bro, you'll be there with me.
My man. That's
I'm not going to be accepted by the mainstream media. We both know
that. Censored. Boom.
Yep, 100%. So I'll actually be creating a Facebook group this coming week and getting people to get involved in it, create a bit of a community. I'll be putting in content and educating people on why we have this certain stance, why we should legalize cannabis, and there's so many reasons. Like if we look at medical reasons, CBD oil is so good. Like coming from a military background, having a lot of mates who have PTSD, had mates that have ended their lives because of their battle with mental illness. CBD is something that's just been an absolute miracle for a lot of people. I've known people who have got off their SSRIs, antidepressants, with the help of CBD oil. I've known people who have got off their pain medication they were addicted to. They're addicted to Xanax and can't go outside because of anxiety, and CBD has helped them there. This is plant medicine that's been used for thousands and thousands of years. And, someone, the CIA decided to create a scare campaign back in the 60s and turn everyone off it.
Blame it on the Mexicans.
Yeah, and Australia's like one of the last countries, blame it on the Mexicans. And Australia's like one of the last countries to sort of realize this. And we've just got all these old politicians that just don't understand, and they think it's going to make people go crazy. It's like, have you ever seen anyone high fight someone?
No. No. Get really hungry.
Yeah. Every remember when the King hits were a big thing, like
at the cross.
Yeah. All those people who are drinking or they're on ice, like let's be real. And so, the people who are smoking weed are at home, chilling, thinking about ideas. And possibly questioning certain narratives, and that's what they don't want.
Exactly right.
But let's also talk about what it can do for the economy. It's a massive boost for the economy, and right now we need it. Like, we need everything we can to help boost this economy, create more jobs. It can be a great opportunity for farmers who, have been who've lost their livelihoods, who can't go to their local markets. Here in Brisbane, they had to close down Eat Street markets, and it's looks like it's never coming back.
Fuck.
And the amount of businesses and livelihoods that were lost because of that. But this, if we legalize cannabis, it's such a massive opportunity for Australia, for import export. Um, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, for sure. I'm so happy you're getting into politics now seriously. And, we say they won't give you any time of day at the moment, but, this is long term, bro. Once those boomers and once those older generational people start to, like, go to the retirement end of their life where they're not involved in politics and they're just kind of like, living out the rest of their remaining years, that's when, our kind of generation will start to come up and become the the dominant, not the dominant, the majority, I guess you would say. And that's when I think you would see a very different world, a very different perspective. That's when, one by one, these things will start to pop up. This drug was decriminalized, and then you got this, and you got that. So we can only hope for the best, prepare for the worst.
100%. Like, and I'd like, I'm going to push big time for police reform in terms of allocating of spending. Let's get the police off the roads pointing speed guns at people, and let's get them into into closing down pedophile rings. Let's get them intercepting domestic violence and these kind of really bad issues, true crimes, and get them off the roads where we already have speed cameras doing that job anyway. Like, they're already set up anywhere anyway. In this nanny state. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to calling out a lot of the opposition in the Liberal National Party, the LNP, and making people aware they don't even know what a libertarian is. They don't even they're not standing up for any liberties or freedoms. And Liberal and Labor, they're just two different sides of the arse cheek.
I thought you were gonna say two wings, but you went for the arse cheeks. So.
I went for the arse cheeks.
Good.
and I promise you this. I will say this right now. I will never become, a politically correct politician. I'm gonna be a human being, operating in the political sphere. But I'll never be a politician where I want to, sit on the fence with everything and, be a silver-tongued devil and, be saying one thing and then be trying to pass laws that strip people of their freedoms behind their backs. I'll probably stuff up and say a lot of things that people will say I should have put my foot in my mouth, but I'm always going to be me and keep it real and have a crack at changing the system and really standing up for people's rights and being that voice for people, because I think it needs to be heard right now. And if that doesn't work out, I've got plan B, which is like just living out on the property, bunch of dogs. I'll be happy with that, man. Like,
you'll be happier with that.
Like, trust me, I'm probably gonna like hate a lot of aspects of politics, but I just feel like I want to have a crack at doing some damage control, I should say, but doing some damage to the people who are causing damage to humanity right now. And why not have a crack? Because if it blows up in my face, if there's too much red tape and I can't force change because it's not allowed, then I can always retreat. I have a great life, great people around me. I have amazing family, amazing friends like yourself. I have the most loving partner in the world. If her and I just lived, on a property with some dogs and some kids, I could live the simple life and be a very, very happy man. But I couldn't do that without first having a crack at trying to make some change.
And I think a lot of people watching this, a lot of our friends would agree with me when I say that you speak for us. We're on the same frequency. We think the same things. We want the same things. We want happiness for everyone. We want equality for everyone. We want, we want to make this world a better and happier place to live in. And thank you for, you know, taking time out of your life to try and make a difference. As hard as that is, and as an, an uphill battle as that is, and you might not even get there, but it's just a matter of trying. And if you don't try, you won't get any progress. So I mean, thank you, Rob.
No, thank you, brother. And thank you so much for creating this platform for people to have a voice. And and I know you spend so much time, behind the scenes. Like all I did was have to just log on to this Zoom, but you do all the editing, you do all the cut ups, you do, all the social media side of things and all the work. And man, like I want you to know that you're making a massive difference, and people are getting a lot out of the content that you're providing. Thank you for not towing any lines. And you, like, just so everyone knows, Christian did not say, like, he was like, is there anything off limits? And I'm like, no.
Free reign, baby.
Nothing is off limits. And thank you for being able to not toe that line as well. Just send it straight down the middle, call as it is, not be afraid to step on some eggshells and create a bit of a ruckus. Not be afraid of people getting deplatformed, and because I'm sure you're going to get big enough at some stage. Someone is going to say, "Hey, could you tone it down a bit? We'll flick you a bit more money. We'll give you a bit more, increase your reach on YouTube. You've just got to tone it down a notch." And me knowing you, Christian, over all these years, I know that they're going to be having a very tough time at turning you.
Yeah, no, I tell them to go fuck themselves.
My man.
We keep it real in this bitch.
We do.
Fuck your feelings. Snowflake society, go fuck yourself. This is real. This is real. Unedited, raw, uncut. Heart to heart.
100%.
Rob, it was
Humidity.
a pleasure.
Snowflakes don't belong.
That's right. Rob, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much, man. And thank you for all your work. I'll put all your links in the description so people can find you. And till next time, brother.
Thank you so much, man. Thanks for having me. Love everything what you're about. Love your vibe. Peace.
Peace.
It's been real.
Cheers.